Okay, hi, welcome to another edition of the Skull Sessions. This is Dan Henk, and today my guest is Martin Tracey. Is that correct? Have your name
That's
correct?
correct, Dan. That's the
Okay.
correct pronunciation. Thank you.
All right, Martin. So, what have you got going on?
Well, I'm a UK author. I don't know whether the American listeners will recognise my accent, but it's a Birmingham accent, not Birmingham, Alabama, obviously. Birmingham, West Midlands in the UK, England, to be more precise. Peaky Blinders, I don't know if that's got over there yet. That's kind of the closest you'll know to my accent, or the members of UB40 that were a band that made it quite well in America, to be
Well,
fair.
I think everybody knows about Peaky Blinders because that's a
Yeah.
big hit. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
UB40, but I'm old, so who knows?
So I'm an author. I'm kind of multi-genre author, but there's definitely huge elements of horror and paranormal and supernatural things going on. So that feeds my fiction books, and then music cuts through a lot of my work, including I do some non-fiction musical books. They're not musical in that they sing it, yeah, but they're about music. So yeah. So hopefully I'm in the right place for you, Dan, for this
They're
podcast.
not those audiobooks where you press a button and they play a little song for you.
That would be so cool, but no, they're not.
Okay, so what do you have out right now, or what are you working on right now?
um, what I'm working on right now, I'm working on some projects in terms of the non-fiction books with a couple of musical artists from the 80s. They were a little bit more UK known, to be honest. There's a band called Fuzzbox, and mind you, you will know Duran Duran for sure. So I'm working on a photo book with the a lady called Maggie K. Demond, who was also in a band. But anyway, that's kind of my non-fiction. But to get back to sort of more on topic for this um, podcast, I'm working on books 5 and 6 at the same time, which is a bit challenging, of my Judd Stone series. So Judd Stone is a private investigator, and primarily set in Birmingham, UK as well. However, most of the things he does always has a supernatural element within them, or he comes across things that have supernatural elements. So, for example, the 2 books I'm working on now, one is about the sort of black market of organ sales. Kidneys, whatever, body organs,
Kind of
in the
Repo
wrong
Man.
hand. Yeah. So, all that kind of thing. And then the other one is about actually a Mexican legend about a girl that drowned. So I'm incorporating that philosophy into a UK story. So that's what I'm working on at the moment in terms of fiction in the main.
What's the story of the girl who drowned?
Yeah, so the legend that I know of Mexico, and I don't swear to be an expert on this, but I keep my ear out for like quirky legends or quirky beliefs, folklore, whatever it is. And the one in Mexico was there's an island of dolls, I believe. It's called something else, which I forget, but there's an island of dolls, and all these dolls are hanging up, and I believe that they were hung up to appease a girl who drowned there, and I believe that she can haunt. That's one story. There is another story as well that there's a lady haunts the lake looking for her lost baby. So there's a park not far from me called Sutton Park, which is really big. Henry VIII used to use it, King Henry VIII, as to go hunting animals and whatever. It's a very big, old, medieval, ancient parkland. Beautiful, actually. But there's lots of lakes in there. So I thought it'd be quite cool if I can sort of transpose that legend into just a different environment, really. And then obviously there'll be a story built around it. But yeah, I haven't quite worked out exactly what's going to happen, but clearly there will be sort of the drowning of a girl or something that will happen, and then Judd has to try and solve what's happened. So that's that one, and then the other one is, as I said, the book is literally starting off with a crash at the crossroads, and the guy on the motorcycle comes off, gets killed. But what spills onto the road is like a body part, an organ from inside. Judd, I don't want to give too much away, but Judd goes and checks all the local hospitals. No one's expecting it. So then he understands, okay, there's a black market going on here for organs, for body organs.
So the motorcycle driver was transporting it to whoever buys the body part.
What was that? Sorry?
The motorcycle driver was transporting it to whoever buys the body part.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how he kind of discovers the market.
That's it. Yeah, because the motorcyclist has a crash and gets killed. Obviously, he can't be interrogated for any answers because he's dead. But so he's got to try and work out A, where has this body part come from, and B, who's it going to, and who's behind the whole operation. He opens something a whole can of worms, shall we say. So yeah, that's that. But other things he's done in the past, I mean, the last book that was published was book 4 of the Judstone series called Double Fantasy. That looked at you might not have heard of this. There's the Pendle. So you had Salem's witches, in America. So something very similar happened in England, and we called them the Pendle Hill witch trials in the 1600s. And again, there was people mistakenly accused of witchcraft, and they were hunted out. And what he does, he gets involved with the Ouija board, and he hits upon when it all happened. And so but that's only one element of the story. And he starts to then contact.
Do they know why they were accused? Like, there's a theory that with the Salem witch trials, like a fungus or a mushroom got into the wheat crop, and that kind of caused some of the people to act crazy, and they go, back in those days, they were like, oh, well, it must be witchcraft.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Some of the people might have been burned alive because something got into their crop.
Yeah.
Is there a similar story in the UK?
It is similar. Yeah, it is similar. They were. I mean, they took the test. I think there was one guy basically who they called the Witch Finder General. He got a little bit zealous. I think he was looking for things that weren't necessarily there, all in the name of witchcraft. To just. And they were burnt at the stake, things like that, drowned. So
sounds like looking for things aren't there, like Inquisition. Yeah. It sounds very common. Yeah.
And they took the testimony of a 9-year-old girl who had said she'd seen the one of the ones accused turn into a brown dog, and they took her testimony as gospel, and it wasn't a very good end for that particular person, shall we say? So it's interesting, and there's so that's in Lancashire, a very rural area in the north of England, which we get bad weather in England anyway, but north of England is kind of famed for its kind of grim weather and that kind of thing. So it builds the atmosphere and the environment for the location as well, although there's some beautiful places up that way, especially like Yorkshire, which is next door, and stuff like that. And then he's been also involved in lots of different things, past life regressions to try and solve crimes. There's been sort of mediums involved to try and help solve crimes with him. So that this kind of idea of and I should mention in Double Fantasy, there's a lot of occult and witchcraft undertones there, and they actually escape to. When I say the Double Fantasy starts off. This is book 4. This is the most recent one that's available in the Judstone series. What happens is he actually goes to Liverpool to play in an 80s music festival. He winds up peeing off some gangsters. He gets chased to the countryside in Merseyside, it's called, which is the countryside near to Liverpool. And he comes across with some of the artists who he's been performing with. He comes across sort of witchcraft, so the pentagrams on the door, all that sort of stuff. Finds an altar where black masses are being done, where sacrifices have been done, and he uncovers also a satanic cult. So he gets involved with quite a lot. he thought he was only going on holiday, and he ends up having to solve this case of witchcraft and Satanists.
So Judge Stone's ongoing character, and you like each one is almost like a series, like the Stainless Steel Rat or Conan or whatever, where each one is an individual story with the same character and continue through it.
Yeah, it's the same character. So it is a book series. However, you can read them standalone. So you could read book 3 and be totally fine with that. You don't have to necessarily read them in order, so they do act as standalones as well. There's not a massive golden thread going all the way through them that if you miss like book 2, I don't know what's happening type thing. So but he just finds himself in all these crazy situations,
What's going on with Judge Stone himself? Is it like a normal guy? Does he have supernatural powers? He just ends up in weird situations?
No, it's a regular guy. He's a regular guy, but he's one of these guys who's hard as nails and could he'd trade punches with anyone. You know what I mean? He's killed people. He has a very so.
Kind of like The Boys. Have you seen the series of Boys?
What was that? Sorry.
Have you seen the series of Boys?
I haven't. No.
Oh, you are missing out.
I need to, obviously.
But they have a guy who's like he's investigating all these like corrupt superheroes who like on the surface they pretend like they're like the Avengers, the Savior, whatever.
Okay.
But they're all like drug addicts and like raping each other, and so it's horrible. So you have this one character, he's just a normal guy, but he's tough as nails. And he's like slowly breaking down what they're doing and exposing them. So I was just wondering if that's kind of what you have. I mean, he's not breaking down, exposing them, but it's like a tough as nails guy that's like ending up in these situations that are almost like overpowering him, like over his head, but he's like trundling through them and like making his way and like, trying to get to the bottom of it.
That is similar, to be honest, because he's a normal guy, but he's very resilient. And he does dig deep. You see, he started off as a policeman, but he ended up leaving the police force because of his methods were so unconventional, that he became a private investigator. But that means he can play on his terms and do things on the way he likes to do business, which will be as much. He's an anti-hero, you know what I mean? He will kill people if he thinks he's justified. He'll do that in a heartbeat, but underneath he's quite vulnerable, got a heart of gold. So he's quite a complex character. He's quite fun to do, actually. But he's always kind of trying to win good over evil, I guess, in everything. There's been trafficking involved. There's been, as I say, Satanism. He's always trying to break down, I guess, because there's been a few conspiracy theories get thrown in as well. So he always tries to do good, but his methods of doing good and getting the results aren't always the most conventional route, if you know what I mean. So,
well, it's only conspiracy theories all been proven to be true. It's kind of like it's only treason if you don't win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, is that series like your main focus? It sounds like you have a bunch of other stuff you're doing as well, like with musicians and like stories about musicians. Like what are you concentrating on, and how do you break up your time?
So at the moment, there's so many projects ongoing. So there is like the two latest Judge Stone books I spoke about, and then there's the ones working with the musicians to get their stories out, which are very different, removed to totally different areas of projects. But music cuts through anyway, because like one of the Judge Stone books, the second one, Club 27, that explores the 27 Club. All these pop stars who died at the age of 27: Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Brian Jones, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, etc., etc. So music, and he's into music himself, Judge Stone. So music is involved in everything I do, because that was my kind of first love, I guess. I used to play in bands, didn't get famous, but I used to play in bands and do songwriting, and then I got to a point where
bands.
They were quite pop rock, so probably not what you like, Dan. To be honest, they weren't like. There's a bit of guitar in, but not heavy guitar. You look like, to me, a guy who would be into like good heavy guitar, which I'm probably more into these days than I was back then. But the extension of songwriting just became novel writing, you know what I mean? But music always had to play a part because it's in my heart and soul, so to speak. But I've got a couple of other horror genre books, and funny enough, the two books that are standalone, because I spoke about my Judd Stone series, they are kind of pure horror books or pure supernatural books. One again is about a rock star who buys a haunted house in the Peak District of England. And then the other one, which is really wacky, called Beneath the Floodlights, that is about vampires that take over a soccer team. And I think to this day, I'm the only author who's ever tackled that subject: vampires taking over a soccer team. So
I've seen a ton of vampire flicks and vampire novels. I've never heard of that before. That is a good twist.
Yeah, I mean, I got inspiration from. I love The Lost Boys, from Dusk Till Dawn, you know, all them classic vampire movies, even going back as far as Dracula, you know, it's a great genre. But I thought, you know, like football again, like music is something, well, we call it football, soccer, as you would know it. It again is something, it's a big part of English culture, soccer. And so, you know, that's something.
You can call it football. I'm not a football fan. There's American football and there's football for the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So football for the world, the beautiful game, as we call it. That's the football I'm talking about, which is known as soccer, which doesn't bother me if you call it soccer or football. But anyway, it's about vampires that take over they merge rather than take over a team. But it's a good story. It's got a lot of dark humor. And quite pleased with it. So Beneath the Floodlights, if that floats your boat, guys, go out and buy it. I'll be delighted.
Well, what do you do with all this stuff? Do you like put it on Amazon? Do you have a publisher that markets it for you? Is it like in commercial stores like Barnes and Nobles? Where can people find your stuff and give you money?
Yeah. I mean, the most obvious place is Amazon. You know, facts, it sells more books than any other platform, I believe. That's where I tend to publish and go to. So I'm an indie publisher, as is known. I like that because it gives you the control, and I can do things like merge soccer teams with vampires without anyone telling me I can't. So Amazon is the main place, and that you'll find it on all platforms: Amazon.co.uk, Amazon.com, you know, Canada. It's Japan, you know, I'll get sales in Japan, which always freaks me out, but I'm very pleased. But I've also got a website, www.martintracey.co.uk, so you can get it from there. I believe, you know, I should know the answer to this, Dan, but I believe you can get it on Barnes & Noble. I believe it does branch out, but I kind of always just sort of concentrate mainly on the Amazon market. But I do a lot of physical book signings face to face, where people can come and meet me and they can buy a signed copy. They're mainly in the UK. I need to do one in the US really, and that'll be often multi-author sort of events. So I'm not the only author there, and it's like a festival, I guess, like a Comic-Con, and people come and meet you and buy a signed book off you and have a photo with you and all that. I love doing that anyway because I love connecting with the readers and hearing firsthand what they think of my books, which touch wood, has always been quite complimentary so far. So yeah, but online, you know, just Amazon is your main place to go to. You may find it elsewhere, but you'll definitely get everything on Amazon.
Well, I know that a lot of people do they'll do like Draft Digital, or they'll use there are other avenues, and like if you do Draft Digital, you can also do Amazon. So if you go on Draft Digital, they put it on like all the Kindle platforms. And they put it on the the bookstores that are not Amazon related, and then you can also sell on Amazon. So I know the people like they find a way to get out that way. So when you do book, do you do book trailers? Do you do an extensive marketing campaign? How do you get yourself out there? Because I know that traditionally, like if you were like Stephen King or somebody that was a giant name, you'd pretty much write it, give it to the publisher, and then they'll market it for you. And that even if you're with a major company now, that didn't really happen. So what do you do?
Yeah, you're quite right. Them days have changed really, haven't they? Unless you're really a big name with a major publisher, I think it's down to the author to do as much marketing as they can, whether that's an indie publisher or what we call traditional publishing. So what I tend to do, social media has been really good for me. Doing things like this, obviously podcasts, which I'm always happy to do and have a chat with. That helps spread the word. So I've got my own website, but it's about pushing the website for people to know it's there to go and have a read and see what's available there. I do these physical marketing. So I have got book trailers. I haven't got them from every single book, but they're available on YouTube. It's just maximizing as much as you can, really, and just pushing everything out. We live in the big wide world of the web these days, don't we? And obviously it's fantastic that I could connect with people like yourself and the readers in America. That couldn't happen without technology. But what the difficult bit is, you can put as much
a big name
out there. You've got to get people to it. What was that? Sorry, Dan?
I was just thinking, unless you're a big name like Stephen King,
then
you make it everywhere. But if you're not, it's hard to get yourself out there.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Really hard. You're competing with so many other people for the space as well, which I totally get. All authors. I find the author community actually very supportive of one another, but there's only so much space that one person can look at any one time, and they don't want news feeds filled up with everything, and so it's a bit of both, and it's the push and pull. So you want to push as much as you can so people notice it and see it's there, and that's obviously through your ads, your trailers, social media avenues, etc. But I suppose if people have got in mind, I want to go and check out a soccer book that involves vampires, why anyone would want to do that, I don't know, but they can go and then search for that and look for that and know where to go for that. So you've got to have all your stuff available, and then try and find a way, not just having it available.
I think well-told vampire stories with like a different angle do very well. Yeah. Like 30 Days a Night, that was great. And Ayn Rand did the whole thing with like Interview with a Vampire and Vampire Lestat and stuff. So if you have like a different angle on it than everyone's done before, then I think it's interesting. I think there's definitely an audience for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. That's what I always try and do that with, not just the Beneath the Floodlights. I try and do that with all what I'm doing. When I'm writing a book, I always try and think, well, what's the new angle? What hasn't been done before? What originality can I get into this plot line? Even if you're using a subject like vampires, which everyone knows about, or ghosts, haunted house. But, how can I make it original? How can I make it different? That's not just the same formula that's been done over and over again.
Right. Well, it's not just like a character or like a genre. It's like what you do with it. There have been some amazing zombie movies, and there've been tons of horrible ones.
Yeah.
So you can't just like pick one genre and go, that's gonna make it.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. 100% right. And you do see things that are sort of copied a lot. It can work for so long, because if people watch something and like it, then sometimes they want to see more of the same for a short amount of time, but that's not sustainable. Originality is what you've got to come up with in the main, and like you say, characters are a good way to do that. If you can make your character a little bit different, or a lot different really to what's gone before, give them some interesting facets, then I think that helps as well, doesn't it? So that people can identify the character and then want to know more about that character or characters. I think that is an important way to bring the reader along on the journey. Definitely.
So how long have you been releasing these Judge Stone books?
Yeah, about about 8 years now. Judge Stone books. Yeah, my first book, the Soccer Vampire book, actually, the standalone Beneath Floodlights. That was my first book. That was published about 2011, 2012. Then it took me ages to do my next book, which was actually the first in the Judge Stone series, Mind Gorilla. So that's about mind control and programmed assassins, and there's also a cult in that as well.
Manchurian Candidate sort of thing.
Was that, sorry?
kind of like the Manchurian Candidate sort of thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Like, yeah. So people being programmed as assassins so that they hear a trigger, a bit like the MK Ultra experiment or rumors, I shall say. So people, they hear a word and then bang, they're off, and they don't even remember doing it. So that there's that side of it, but then there's the religious cult side of it as well. But it all joins up at the end. There's a lot of different layers that all joined up in Mind Gorilla. So yeah, but yeah, about 8 years for Judge Stone, and I'm still going now. And I think there's a lot of life left in him yet to do even more chaos.
why the name Judge Stone?
You know what? I I always like the name Judd Nelson. So Judd isn't. We have Jude or something like that in UK. Judd isn't a very common name in the UK. So I always like to pick sort of uncommon names. I always like my characters to have names of people I don't know.
So that's not a title. That's the actual name, Judge.
Yeah, Judd. I always like the actor's name, Judd Nelson, who was in the Breakfast Club. I liked his character in the Breakfast Club and that. So that was the Judd bit. And Stone, I just thought, I don't know, really. Nothing great, no great inspiration, but I just thought it sort of kind of suits him as I guess, subconsciously as a resilient bloke, as a hard bloke. Stone's hard, you know what I mean? So you can't break it. You can't break him. So probably
his name is Judd. It's Judd.
That's it. Judd.
I thought you were saying it was Judge. I was like,
oh no, yeah. Like Judge Dredd and that.
Yeah.
No, Judd, Judd. So no, not Judge. Judd Stone. Yeah, so he's not like a superhero Avenger that you see in Marvel and DC and that type of character. He's not like that. He's a regular guy who's just a regular brummie like me, except I don't go around killing people. So
that we know, or that you'll admit.
Yeah.
So how long are these stories?
The first one, Mind Gorilla, is huge. It was supposed to be it's a funny story because it was meant to be a standalone. It was like a tome, you know what I mean? It's about 120,000 words. It's a big book. And funny enough, Judd Stone was meant to be like the sidekick to the main protagonist. The guy who's the main protagonist, who I thought was the main protagonist, was his mentor in the police force, DCI William Chamberlain. He's got multiple sclerosis, but as his multiple sclerosis gets worse, progressively worse, his powers of telekinesis get stronger, so he can do things with his mind and move matter and that. But then, after writing that book, which was meant to be a standalone, I got these reviews and people anecdotally saying to me that I really like Judd Stone. I want to read more Judd Stone. I thought, what is the sidekick in? But as it happens, that was it. It was born. The other books, therefore, after they come in at about 80,000 words, something like that. But for the rest of them, maybe a bit less, between 70 and 80,000 words.
How many pages does that end up being?
Oh, I think that's about 275 pages, something like that, with the Garamond 11 font.
And do you do them in like first person, third person?
Third person, yeah. For Judd, yeah. I've done the only time I've done first person is in some short stories. But most of even not the Judd books, all my novels, they're all third person. Yeah. No particular reason. They just seem to suit that book. Or them books to describe the character. I think you can describe a character better as a third person approach, but I don't know. It's preference.
Well, you get that omniscient narrator that can tell you like stuff that one character doesn't see. You know, like I noticed that a lot of indie authors love to go with the first person. Yeah. But it used to be back in the day. It seems like everyone hated first person. Like aside from like Lovecraft and stuff like that, you didn't see first person that much.
No. It's I guess it's preference, swings and roundabouts. First person can work for some, but my preference just third person. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to know actually what people, if they had a preference in terms of reading. Do you rather read first person or third person? It's probably harder to write first person because you've got to.
Well, you really have to put yourself in the mind of the character.
Yeah.
You have to be involved, and it's almost like you're in a suit, like watching everything and seeing everything. As and you're describing what you see.
Yeah.
So it probably depends on on the subject matter, and depends on your approach.
Yeah, definitely. Never say never.
Never say never. Oh, that's great stuff, some bad stuff. But all right, so do you have an Amazon authors page or anything that what can people check out?
Yeah, so I mean, if you just Google Martin Tracey, people stuff will come up, and including my website should come up, which is www.martintracy.co.uk. But yeah, I've got Amazon author page on all platforms, UK, US. So yeah, you'll find it, and all my books are linked off it. Obviously, a little bit of a biog about me, some questionable photos potentially of me.
But are you on TikTok doing little dances?
You know what? I need to engage better with TikTok, mate. I do. I need to do TikTok a bit more. I'm on Twitter. Or no, it's not Twitter. X. I'm on X. Really? I'm on Threads, but I can't get used to that yet. Either Threads.
But, are you on like Goodreads or Instagram?
Yeah. All my books are on Goodreads. I mean, I'm on Instagram. Yeah, at Martin of Molyneux author. You'll find me. That's my hashtag there. On X, it's just at Martin Tracey 1. TikTok as well, I think, is the Molyneux. Molyneux's because, as I said about football, / soccer, my team Wolverhampton Wanderers plays at Molyneux. That's the name of the stadium they play at, Molyneux. So that's spelled Molineux. So Martin Tracey at Molyneux, you'll find me on Instagram with that one for sure. So Instagram, Facebook, I tend to use a lot. And X to a certain amount. I used to use X a lot more, but it's kind of switched over now for some reason. I need to start using TikTok a lot more though. Yeah.
Well, I know that Jeff Strand does some really clever stuff. Like he wrote Technical Tomatoes. So as him holding the book and pelted by tomatoes.
Yeah.
So, he's made it work, definitely. All right. So do you have anything coming out right now, like something that people could check out, they should be looking forward to?
Yeah, there's I'm trying to think what's coming out now. So the last book I published was Double Fantasy, which has some book trailers around it, which you'll find on social media and on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. It's definitely on my website, but you'll find, that's the thing to look at. What's going to be coming out in sooner rather than later will be the Duran Duran book. Really, I think that'll be the next one. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory. Basically, when Duran Duran were not even big, they were just on the cusp of stardom, early 80s. There was this guy called Paul Edmond. He used to hang around them, and he always had a photo. Remember, this was before mobile phones, etc. So he always had a camera around his neck, and he just clicked away. But what he actually caught was really, really important historical pictures of early Duran Duran and the scene at the time. There was a famous club called the Rum Runner, for example. And these photos, he sadly passed away in a car crash. And his sister inherited all these photos, and she's got this plethora of photos and kind of wanted them harnessed and published and presented to the world. So basically, I'm helping her do that. So I've done an introduction for each of the 3 books. There's that many photos. It's a 3-book series. And actually, we've got Boy George, the one and only Boy George, to do a foreword in book 1. So that will be out within the next few months, and I implore everyone to go and look at it, because especially into Duran Duran, you'll see them in a very different light, because it's very it's when they were organic and very early on in their journey. And
what's that book entitled?
It's called Onsen Duran Duran. So that's the book series. spelled E-N, so it's French, like a play on French words, E-N, scene, on scene, and then Duran Duran. So that will obviously, when it's published, will be on my website, will be on Amazon UK, etc., etc. So watch out for it. I mean, if people want to sign up to my newsletter, they can, Dan. And the way to do that, mate, just everyone, this is my email address. It's not very original. Martin Paperback Writer at yahoo.co.uk. So feel free to spam me. And if you want to join my newsletter, and you'll hear about all my...
How old is a Yahoo account?
Very. About 12 years, something like that. Yeah. Because I don't think you can get .co.uk accounts now. I think they're all .com.
Oh, really?
I think so. For Yahoo. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. But there's a way anyway. If you go to my website, there's a way you can, contact me through that, and it comes through anyway. So if you want to sign up to my newsletter, so you're always up to date with what's happening, including the End Scene Duran Duran book series that's forthcoming, all the Judd Stone books that are coming, then please just let me know, and you can sign up to my newsletter, you lucky people.
All right, awesome, man. Do you have a book trailer or anything debuting that people should check out?
There will be for that, but it's not made yet, for the Duran Duran book series. So only what's gone before. So I've got nothing in place now for stuff that's coming down the line in terms of marketable stuff. I haven't even got a book cover. Well, I've got book covers for Duran Duran actually. So, but my Judd Stone ones, I haven't even got the book covers yet. So it's all visionary and in situ. But I haven't got the book trailers and yet for it next. So I need to pull my finger out of that, Dan. You've metaphorically given me a kick up the backside to get that sorted. But you can go and see my book trailers of the things that are already out there, all the Judd Stone stuff, etc.
Okay, well, awesome. Thanks, man. People, buy his shit, give him some money. And do you have anything else you want to
add? No, other than to say, buy my shit, give me some money. But I do. I mean, it's nice just that people read your stuff. That's what you do it for. But just to thank you, Dan, for having me along. It's been a pleasure. Thanks. Brilliant to connect across the pond, and it's so far away, yet, and time difference so different. But we've done it. We've done it, mate. We've done it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for being on the podcast.